DJI just announced the new Mic Mini. I'm a huge fan of these DJI microphones. I still have the DJI Mic. I didn't get the Mic 2 because I didn't see a reason for it, but I really like how these products work, the changes they allow to my production methods and techniques and workflows. It just makes things so much easier in terms of getting high quality audio in a way that's pretty effortless, painless, and simple. I've struggled in the past with wireless transmitters and getting the right frequency and dealing with noise and big bulky packs and batteries that are constantly dying that need to be replaced. I think the DJI mic solutions solve really all of those problems. And so I'm really excited for the Mic Mini because it does come with some trade-offs, but I do think what's here is actually really nice. So let's take a look. The new Mic Mini, their tagline slogan is carry less, capture more. And the whole point of the Mic Mini is that it's a streamlined, super small, ultra compact microphone set, wireless, and you still get 2 transmitters to 1 receiver, which I think is kind of a nice baseline to operate off of. I do like the Comica VMQ or VMO-Q, whatever they call it, VMO-Q, where it's a 4-channel audio to 1 receiver. I think that can pair quite nicely with something like the GH7, for example, with the XLR adapter. So you can actually run 4 tracks of audio. You can do the same thing with the S5 Mark II. Any camera that can record 4 channels or 4 tracks of audio pairs really, really nicely with that Comica VMO-Q. And I do really like that, but I think this is really nice from DJI just because I feel like the build quality on these is usually exceptional and kind of stellar. So let's take a look. Here's kind of an overview of what you get. It's small, ultralight, super discreet. It's become quite the trend now for everyone to just wear the microphone on the outside of their clothing, whatever the new style is, whatever the new format is. And I think just having a smaller, more lower profile microphone is really nice. Now, one thing to be aware of right off the bat, this is not the type of microphone transmitter that can accept any kind of lavalier or lav microphone. You can't plug anything into it. The cube that you see here, the little square, is the microphone and you can't add anything to it. The previous bigger DJI mic sets, you can plug in a lavalier microphone and run your audio that way. Really easy way to hide a microphone and still run wireless. This is meant for more of your content creator type, your influencer, your vlogger, YouTuber, etc., who maybe doesn't mind as much seeing the microphone. And honestly, you could probably still hide it in some way. These things look small enough that it'd be pretty easy to hide. But just be aware you can't plug in a lavalier microphone to this transmitter. But what you do get is some better operation in terms of battery life. So they claim 48-hour operation with the case. That means as the packs are dying and losing battery, you put it back in the case and it'll recharge, and you can theoretically get 48 hours of operation out of it. It won't run 48 hours continuous. I'm pretty sure that's not what they're claiming, but off of one charge with that case, you get 48 hours of start-stop, recharging in between. You also get high quality audio with stable transmission. It's one thing I do like about the more Wi-Fi nature of how these things communicate. Your results may be varied. Some people have said they don't like the 2.4 gigahertz transmitter methods. I found it to be far more reliable than UHF, but maybe that's a region thing, location, different countries. I don't know. I just always found UHF to be just super annoying and constantly dealing with interference and static and all sorts of noise, where the wireless, these 2.4 gigahertz systems seem for me to work a whole lot better, more reliably. They are limited by distance, so you can't get too far away from your microphone, but for most of my needs, it's never been an issue. I'm not trying to transmit audio across an entire football field. It's all within relatively close quarters, but still far enough away that you wouldn't want to wire the microphone. Now, this is something where I need to do a little bit more testing. I have ordered one of these. Obviously, this is just announced, but they are shipping right now. I do believe I should get it pretty quickly. And this is the features that I need to test a little bit to see how it actually performs, because they claim that there's 2 levels of active noise canceling, as well as this automatic limiting to prevent audio clipping. So if you're recording 32-bit float, you don't really need to worry about this, but this is more for people who aren't doing that, right? The way that we've always had to record audio, maybe recording a little quieter and still worrying about something being too loud and it clipping over 0 dB. Apparently, DJI is saying that it will automatically limit, which Might be good, might be bad, depending on how well that is built in, that feature. I do find the limiter on the Lumix cameras to be quite nice, actually. I run it fairly consistently on the S5 Mark II, on the GH7, on the G9 Mark II. For a while, the Lumix cameras have had audio limiters built in, and I do run them, and I think they sound quite nice. We'll see if this is too aggressive, maybe it's not aggressive enough, as well as the 2-level active noise canceling. Noise canceling can sound really, really bad if done improperly, but nowadays with some of the new AI advancements, noise canceling has gotten pretty good in some cases. So again, I'll have to kind of get my hands on to really see how good this actually is. Can it handle wind? Can it handle, electric current noise? Can it handle an air conditioner, a refrigerator? There's all sorts of things in our day-to-day lives that cause noise. And I do tend to find that like noise adds a nice, what do I mean by noise? Yes, everything makes noise, but the ambiance, the ambient noise can be nice and help paint a picture of where you're at. If you're on a city street and it sounds like you're in a podcast studio, that's kind of jarring. So I wouldn't want the noise canceling to work too well and be too artificial sounding. I do like to hear the space that the subject is in, but there are those noises that are really aggressive and really annoying that you might want to remove entirely, especially if it's distracting. Like imagine you're setting up in a conference room to film an interview and there's construction going on outside and they're running the jackhammers. I think we've all been there once or twice. Maybe they're sawing some wood or who knows what they're doing. But it seems to be the leaf blower, classic example. Anytime you sit down to do a recording, that's immediately when the landscapers come out and they start running their leaf blowers. So I do want to see how that active noise canceling works. There are some examples on this page that I'll play here in a moment, but we've also got the OsmoAudio direct connection. And this is kind of a cool feature if you are running the DJI Osmo product. So there's the Osmo Action cameras, that's kind of like the DJI GoPro, if you will, as well as the Osmo Pocket. And I have the Pocket 3, that's the more gimbal, pocketable action camera style. So it's not, as action oriented as the action camera, but it is smooth, stable. You get the gimbal performance out of it. And I do quite like it. There's some small limitations there with the Pocket 3 that I found. You can set a custom white balance, but you can't dial in the green or magenta tint. I think that's kind of frustrating. So you can pick your Kelvin on the Pocket 3, but you can't shift green or magenta. And you also can't set a true custom white balance by using a white card or like a white source. So a lot of cameras, you can set a custom white balance by pointing it at something white and saying, this is white, and you either take a picture or you click the button to set the setting. You can't do that on the Pocket 3. So you do have your traditional daylight tungsten white balance settings, but you can't actually dial it in to match perfectly other cameras. And I've been frustrated in the past that I can't do that on the Pocket 3. I actually sent a request into DJI saying, hey, could you please update this? Because it seems like an easy enough firmware thing. But to my knowledge, they've never done that. So the Pocket 3 works well enough. You can compensate with color correction and doing all that, but it's a slight irritation for all the amazing features that the Pocket 3 has. You've got 10-bit color. I believe it's 422 color sampling. You've got 4K, tons of different frame rate options. And the DJI Mic Mini will pair seamlessly with the action cameras. I believe there's like the Action 3, 4, and 5 now, I think, as well as the Pocket 3. So if it's a camera, an action camera that supports the OsmoAudio protocol, then you can use the Mic Mini with it and just kind of run wireless audio to your camera, which again, less wires, less things to worry about. That's actually really, really nice. So here you can see some more examples of what this looks like in terms of size and how you might want to clip it on to your subject. It does have the magnetic attachment, which I find kind of helpful. A lot of times I'm using these microphones, I'm placing them in the environment to capture audio from a distance. Maybe it's not always on a person. Maybe it's just up in the corner of a room, behind a plant, on a table. It doesn't really matter, but it's nice when you can mount it magnetically. And there's this lanyard example, which I guess that comes with it. That's kind of an interesting way to hold a microphone in a more aesthetically pleasing way. So they say it has detail-rich sound, and they do provide a couple of examples. Let's take a listen here to the two different options. There's a basic noise cancellation as well as a strong noise cancellation. Let's listen to the basic and see how that sounds.
And you can adjust the direction of the vents just by sliding.
Okay. You can hear the car AC or whatever is blowing there in the background being reduced automatically, which is nice. It's the noise is being canceled out, as they say, but you do hear a little bit of that artificial sound, especially in the quieter sounds like the fabric rustling in his clothes, the seatbelt. It just has this kind of strange noise canceling sound. I don't know how to describe it. Sometimes it can sound a little metallic, a little robotic, maybe almost like it's underwater slightly. Let's take a listen to the strong example.
This car is truly one of a kind.
So the street noise being reduced, it's such a short clip, it's really hard to say. It does sound like the noise is being canceled out, but I think this is one of those features that I'll actually have to get my hands on to truly know if it's something I'm going to use or if it's just a marketing gimmick. In theory, noise cancellation is good as long as it doesn't work too hard on set. Oftentimes you can do a lot of this noise cancellation in post-production, and I'm not saying that's the best solution because oftentimes I'd prefer to save time and get it right in camera or on set. But if the noise cancellation is too aggressive and it makes it sound a little too weird, I wouldn't want to bake that in, unfortunately. So have to test it myself. These clips are a little too short to really tell. But these microphones, as they have been, they do come with these little fuzzy dead cat attachments. So if you're filming in a windy environment, I can't say that that's all too common for me. Most of the time I'm in a fairly decently controlled environment, but if there was a lot of wind, I guess it would be nice to put one of those on. Now here's another example of the automatic limiting to prevent audio clipping. Let's give this a listen.
Aha, yeah, boy! Aha, yeah, boy!
Too short, hard to tell, really. I think it's going to be one of those things where you really got to get your hands on to test it yourself, see if it's going to work for your application. I like that they're building these features in as long as you can toggle them on and off. I assume with a microphone set like this, that'll be something that you do in the app, but I'll let you know once I find out how this thing actually works. Now let's dive into the hardware. You can see there's a 5-level gain adjustment. So this works with a knob, and I actually quite like that. The other DJI mic sets are touchscreen activated, and that's fine. It works well enough. But for something as simple and as basic as adjusting the volume or the level, I like the idea of a physical control knob. I think this is something where across the board in the technology industry as a whole, you're seeing the kind of push-pull between touchscreen interfaces and physical knobs. And I like that we're getting some physical knobs back in our equipment, especially if you're looking at cars. A lot of cars went to touchscreens, and then now people are realizing, well, maybe we do want some physical controls. So I do like the knob adjustment here. That'll be really nice. Mono and stereo recording, obviously, depending on the application. And they have even another built-in safety net of a safety track for extra assurance. So you can turn on the safety track in the DJI Mimo app. They have all these different names, Osmo, Mimo. It's kind of irritating, but regardless. The Mimo app, the DJI Mic Mini can record in dual tracks. So I'm assuming that's going to save the audio to your phone, which is not how I would probably do it. But I guess if that's your method of content creation, content capture, that may apply to you. But it'll basically record a reduced volume version, 6 dB lower, to give you that extra safety net. So not true 32-bit float, which would kind of build it right into the file. It's just a safety track, as I'm sure you're probably familiar with that technique. As we go down the page, we get some additional info on the extended battery, more stable transmission, great 48-hour battering with case, no more frequent charging. And I'm going to read this. It says a transmitter and a receiver offer a maximum operating time of 11.5 and 10.5 hours, respectively. A fully charged case provides approximately 3.6 full charges to achieve a total of 48 hours of extended use. This makes the DJI Mic Mini ideal for long trips, interviews, and other intensive usage scenarios. So when you're looking at how long could you run it continuously, it looks to be about 10.5 hours, and that's on the receiver side being the limiter, which is basically a full day of filming, a full day of production. If you're recording for longer than 10 and a half hours, and I imagine that battery time will be reduced as the product ages, but in general, feel pretty confident that you could record for a whole day, more or less. And even if you do need to recharge it, I think it says it has this 5-minute quick charge. Basically, you just put it in the case for 5 minutes, and then you can use it again for up to an hour which is a nice little feature. You know, take a little bathroom break, take a little water break, put them in the case. They're ready to go when you're done. Now, the transmitter auto power saving and auto power off, these are some additional battery saving options that you can enable. And then it says that there's stable interference, 400 meter transmission, up to 400 meters. I bet in real usage that's going to be lower, but that's quite a distance and quite impressive if that actually holds true. And at 400 meters, you're still getting the same audio quality as you're getting at 10 meters. It says that it has powerful anti-interference capabilities and your recording remains stable and high quality, even in bustling outdoor environments like a busy street or a crowded event. Again, we're really gonna have to test this ourselves and see if it's up to the task in our particular shooting scenarios. I don't know where you film. You're not gonna know where I'm filming. So it's kind of one of those things we have to put it through its paces and can't just believe the marketing on the page. But I do like that they're touting this as a feature because it is one of the limitations I've heard people say that the 2.4 gigahertz transmissions, there's interference either with like Wi-Fi routers or other people's cell phones. There's all sorts of signals bouncing around these days. So something that is claimed to be stable and anti-interference is a nice thing, at least keeps it in mind that they're keeping it in mind. And as we go down here further, we've got some compatibility with the Osmo ecosystem and multiple devices. So you can use it, as I said, with the Pocket 3 or the Action cameras. And it says the Action 5, the Action 4, or the Osmo Pocket 3 without the receiver, meaning you just need the two transmitters, the two microphones, and you can use this without the receiver. So if you already have these cameras and you plan to use these microphones with these cameras, then maybe you just need to buy the transmitters. You don't even need the receiver. For me, I'm going to get the receiver as well because I do use it with a camera from time to time, not the Pocket 3. And then it says multiple device compatibility for versatile use, easy wireless recording. Great, great, great. You can pair it with the Mimo app. That's what they've been using lately. And it works quite well. I will say the Mimo app is nice and I've had to use it for customer support. And so that's where I've gone anytime I've had an issue or a problem to get something repaired or replaced. It's been actually quite nice working with DJI through the app. And here's a breakdown, which I thought this was actually quite helpful to see at a glance. Now, these prices are the minimums. So it says the DJI Mic Mini is $89. That's just for like the most basic set. For the full case, I think it's $169, so $170 for the full set, which is cheaper than the DJI Mic 2 and the DJI Mic Original. Those are both still more expensive, but they are bigger. They're a little bit more robust, maybe a little bit more professional, quote unquote. But it seems like the Mic Mini has most of the features you might be after anyway. You've got a breakdown here of some of the things it does. There's intelligent noise canceling. This has 2-level noise canceling. We've got the automatic limiting. That's a new feature on the Mic Mini. And the total operating time of 48 hours is quite a bit longer than the other mic series. And you can connect directly to, which you can't do on the original. And you've got Lightning and USB-C adapters. And the one thing I was most curious about was because they took away lavalier support on the microphone side, on the transmitter side, which is honestly fine for the size of these devices. I was curious if they were going to take away the same connectivity on the receiver, and I'm glad to see they didn't. It says here you can do a 3.5 millimeter TRS cable. That would be your standard, headphone cable directly to your camera. It's, what everyone's been using for audio for the past forever, it seems like. So you can still connect the receiver directly to your camera if you want to use it that way. Obviously, it has the functionality to use the OsmoAudio protocol, and you can run it with a Pocket 3 and an Action 4 or 5 without the receiver, as we've discussed. But if you do want to use it with a Nikon, a Canon, a Sony, a Lumix, whatever you have, you still can do that. And you have USB-C connectivity, and you have your dial plus some buttons. And so you can kind of see how this stacks up. Starting at $89, obviously that's not the most common package, that's just the base package. But I think that this looks quite nice, and I'm excited to see DJI pushing these types of advancements and investing in the stuff that changes the way we approach production. When I think back 10, 20 years ago and how we were dealing with wireless microphones, that was such a high-end broadcast feature to even be able to film with wireless audio. And the mic sets were really expensive. They were super complicated. Now, anyone can use these devices and it's fairly affordable. Now, is it the best, most professional option? No, there's always higher end, more premium stuff. But I really like how these types of advancements in technology make content production so much easier. And it really does change the way that you shoot. It's less to worry about. It's less technicals that you need to be concerned about. If it just works right out of the case, great. You know, your troubleshooting is far more, it's far reduced compared to some of the stuff we had to do back in the day with the old like Sennheiser sets and the stuff that was the most popular, with some of the most frustrating equipment I've ever had to deal with, especially when it came to audio. And I just like that it makes it open for everybody to use this type of stuff, because nowadays, you know, audio is still important. A lot of people, you know, the iPhone will come out and it'll talk about the great photo features or the video features. And a lot of people go to record content on their phone or with like a basic camera, and they're forgetting half of the equation, which is audio, the quality of that audio. It's super important. And everyone knows this when it comes to podcasts and audio content, but with visual content, it seems to be like everyone's like the last thing they're worried about. And so it becomes the thing of making it easy, making it approachable, making it cheap actually increases everyone's quality, because most people, you know, their eyes, it's like the thing we operate with the most. What does it look like? What do we see? And very few people are really recognizing what they're hearing until you point it out to them and they realize it's a problem that needs to be fixed. And if you present them with really expensive, clunky, technical equipment, it's going to be off-putting, and they're going to go with whatever's the easiest, the cheapest, the path of least resistance, which is now more premium products like this. So I love that, because I don't want to watch a video with bad audio, and I'm sure you don't either. So if it makes my life easier and if it makes the content out there far more enjoyable, I'm all for it. I think the price point on this thing is great. I think the features that they're kind of touting are compelling. I do have to test them myself before I actually give it the seal of approval, but I like it all in theory. I like the price point. I like the size. You know, microphones, they shouldn't be big, bulky, heavy. They should be invisible. And so the smaller they are, I think the better. Sounds like the battery performance is amazing. And if the sound quality is up to the task, then I really like this. It probably won't be my solution for all of my audio needs, but it could definitely help fill those times where I want audio, but I need it to be like quick and easy, simple to set up, kind of the run and gun stuff where I'm just capturing something so I have the sound effects, the sound of the space. So I might actually turn that noise canceling off, to be honest, because oftentimes I want it to sound like something, whatever the environment is. So check it out. Let me know what you think. Like I said, they just announced this today. It's brand new, but like all good things from DJI, it's available, you know, pretty quick. I can't say they've done that with every product, but they're usually pretty good about when they announce something, you can go buy it immediately. You're not sitting there waiting for months of, hey, they announced it, when's it coming out? It's out now. You can go buy it, and you should be able to get your hands on it very, very soon. I think mine will be here tomorrow. So very quick, very easy, very painless, and I like the direction this is headed.